Hi, Rigsters here, back with another Forza Horizon 5 video. I noticed a comment suggesting to cover the Ford GT from 2005 again, and the comment, which was very grateful for, suggested for the understeer issue I had back at this video that I'll put on the card here, particularly pertaining to the Goliath run I did as a first impression slash to suggested video. Suggested that for the understeer issue with the same configuration I have this car since as of that recording from last year and the current year 2022, to try front roll bars to 35 and the rear to 55. So for this video I am going to take that suggestion and take it to Goliath and see the results. And to make sure it is the same test results, I'm just going to do the dry season S1 because that's what this car is under. And outside of that, we'll just see how it goes. And just to reiterate, before I hit start race, I still have the gearing as of last time. The alignment's still the same. The roll bars are to the suggested 35 front and 55 rear in an attempt to reduce the massive understeer. Springs are still the same. Dampening is still the same. No aero. Brakes, I might... Yeah, you know what? I'm just keeping the brakes the same. And differentials are the same. Some other things as I'm getting this through the course here. It is an S1 any car goes. So basically meaning that any S1 car, even if it's pickup trucks, can race on here. I already am noticing an immediate improvement with this tuning suggestion from the YouTube comment. This is much better. Holy moly. Well, I gotta give a shout out to that commenter because this already is significantly better. I am not having as many issues with the understeer even at lower speeds, because on the first time I went around just as an experiment doing Goliath for the S1 to Ford GT, it was understeered through probably about 60% of the race even at lower speeds, which is not something I really liked. And that was partially due to the fact I was not as familiar with Goliath as I am now, and also because of tuning error. I did not realize until I read that comment that I'm like, tuning roll bars. It's not something I usually mess with too often, because on some cars, it is one of those fine art things you have to really experiment and do a lot of testing for. But this suggestion made logical sense too, because basically, I'll just make this like a long story short kind of thing. Roll bars on a car pretty much are like the name implies. It prevents undesired roll when you're turning. If there was no roll bars, cars like the Ford GT, even the early 60 version, would not have been possible. Heck, even Ferraris, the one everyone likes in Europe and across the world, very good car brand, would probably not function as well without this innovation. The roll bar, I forgot what the first car like used it in mass production as we know it today. Basically prevents the car from lifting mid-corner at speed, or at least in this case really fast speed. Tweaking it to be stiffer, like the suggestion said, basically means that it is geared towards oversteer, meaning that it will resist or stiffen the inward pitch of the mid-corner entry, meaning that it basically allows me to turn in tighter. It's a very complicated way of turning in tighter in terms of how the tuning setting works, but it is a very delicate system because if this didn't work, I would be sliding across the road constantly right now. And also just love that supercharger line. Never gets old in this game. So, yeah. This suggestion for the 4GT with semi-slick tires, and so the other parts I put on, as in the past, really mesh well with this setup. So, props up to you once again, commenter. I will say that this tuning suggestion should definitely be shared across the community for this car. That way more people can enjoy it. And it's also more fun to drive and you might win. Keyword, hopefully I actually win this time. I think the last time I did this I finished, wasn't it like, probably 9th? Right now I'm in 6th. I'm not really racing that hard. Because I'm just trying to denote visually as I'm driving and blabbing to see where the improvements came from. So I'm not really paying attention to my positioning or necessarily my speed. I'm paying attention to what I'm visually seeing with the car in this view. Now unfortunately in real life, unless you had a camera system, you can't really do that. When you're in the actual cockpit of the car, the only way you can tell if it's changed is by feel. And yes, I did undergear gear 5 there. I probably could have downshifted and I didn't. Now I can. Much better gripping too. Now you might be wondering too, when I do these videos for Forza Horizon in general, at least particularly with the Goliath, or I do the street scene race, the Goliath of that particular series, why I always do it in the dry is because I'm trying to do consistency for the tunes. It's kind of like in the back of my mind, I'm kind of trying to tune the cars to make them better. And water in this game, which is a good thing, but it's also an annoying thing, is very inconsistent. It is partially a model thing, but it's also a real life thing, because a wet road, even under the same temperature, can have a different effect that can affect the variable. Meaning that if you're trying to tune your car to corner at a certain speed or react a certain way, that same road you hit at the same temperature, if it's a little bit damper or has more puddles of water, can affect your results more often and introduce something you don't want, which is less consistent results to compare against. That's what that pretty much means. So enough techno crap. Let's just hear this beautiful supercharger, or a supercharger sound effect of the 4GT. Alright, so the cars in front, I'm definitely keeping pace more often on this high-speed section, which is really nice. It definitely turns in better, which is kind of what I was looking for, because on the old tune, another oddity, and I did realize that the roll bars actually affected this more than I thought at the time. When you're turning in at high speeds, when you get that awkward understeer at certain speeds, sometimes it seems like, at least in this game in particular, this could also affect other racing games that model this too, some more realistically than others. Roll bars really do seem to affect the high speed handling more than I realized. So this is actually another avenue of testing and development for trying to get tunes to work better or to help out the community or to showcase designs and just goof about. So this roll bar discovery is really probably the biggest improvement I've done to a card that had such massive understeer problems in ages. And that goes for any Horizon Series 4, which was my old series, or what I used to play more often back then, and now. When it's set up right, this is the result. This is a massive success. So, we gotta spread the word, but at least this card in particular, that front rear roll bar stiffness tweak, it's a good starting point when you have these parts in. And it probably will work on the lesser tires too, like the sport tire and stuff. Maybe not as much as with the semi-slicks, but it definitely helps. And if you have a controller with force feedback or steering wheel force feedback, I've also noticed a minor subtlety improvement is that in this game, you can also feel through the controller the vibrations of when the tires start to lose grip. It's happening far less frequently. So, I definitely knew something wasn't working right at the time. Another beautiful V8 supercharged section. Hitting 225, let's go. Oh, yeah, I still gotta slow down a little bit there. But not as much. This corner can catch me out. That's the first off-the-road thing, and that was driver error. That was not tuning error. Oh my goodness, that's actually... that is actually not one of the people I talked to, but right now, at least currently, but that is actually a person on my friends list. Because these are all bots, or Drivatars. An interesting thing that at least I haven't heard or get mentioned very often in Forza Horizon in general is when you do this kind of racing, just to do testing and to showcase, the Drivatars will use your friends list, either via through Steam if you have the Steam edition, or a combination of Steam and the Xbox friends list if you're playing on PC. Meaning that if you buy it through Steam and you have a friends list and they play Horizons and you added them there, they will be more likely to show up on the list of when you're doing co-op. Or if you're doing solo races like I've been doing, you will see them there. That does not mean they're actually driving, but it could be a recording of their driving at some point. Which is kind of cool technology. I really think it's a very interesting tidbit there. Adds a little bit of realism too. And for not trying to race or drive hard or fast, this is actually really good because I'm not actually really trying to win per se. Like, I'm not trying to maximize every apex. I mean, I'm trying to win. Maybe I should rephrase that. I'm not trying to master the corners to perfection right now. I'm just doing this as a showcase run. Meaning that I'm just blabbing and just showing you the experience. So I don't really care, for example, if I miss shift every once in a while. Or do a really bad job with that turn. That's bad driving. And obviously in real life that would be very dangerous. So to go from 9th to 2nd is good. That was a really good run. I'm very happy with that. And a much faster time, too. 13:19. That is a really fast time to go from about 13:24, I think, when I turned in the first time I did this last year. It's like, gosh, or late last year. Go from that to being able to finish without really hyper concentrating on the turns and stuff, to go from that to 13:19 is a reduction of about 8 to 9 seconds faster from 13:24. Major improvement all across the board. Let's see what we get on a wheel spin. Oh wow, 10,000! Are you kidding me? All right, and we leveled up. So we got another wheel spin. I'm not spinning that right now. Earned 173,456 for that second place finish. All right, so for this test video and suggested by a viewer, I can reasonably conclude, and yes, I know it's just one race, but it's just for the interest of time, that yes, that tuning suggested for the Ford GT with the semi-slicks, suspension upgrades, and weight reduction is indeed the correct call. That tuning bar setup, once again, I will show while I wrap this up here. As a reminder, I get to it. Yes, right here. 35 front, 55 rear is a very good starting point for the 2005 Ford GT and S1 semi-slick tire tune. Try this out first and see how it feels. For me, this is a massive improvement from the setting I messed with in an older video. And with that, I do run a Ko-Fi page if you wish to support the channel, with the goal of still getting a flight stick. I know it sounds like a broken record with the flight stick thing, but that is still the channel's goal, because eventually I would like to learn how the HOTAS joystick world works. And hope you enjoyed this video with this beautiful car made by Ford back then. It's Rigsters Journey, signing off.